Animation is something that I fell in love with. I think most kids love animation, and I grew up with those, animated shorts that we used to get on TV. But I really fell in love with animation when I studied fine art, sculpture, and photography. And when I was introduced to clay animation, it kind of all the lights came on in terms of here's something I can use my sculpture skills, I can use my writing skills, and I can use my photography skills to make something exciting, and my filmmaking passion. I did a public service announcement for a competition with a friend of mine had a charity, and I wanted to support that, but I also wanted to make something and submit it to this competition. And the owners of Triggerfish were the judges of the competition, well, among the judges, and they saw my work and then offered me a job at Triggerfish as a junior animator. And I kind of worked my way up and became a partner, and then took over the company when they left. It's a long story, but ultimately I got into it because I wanted to tell my stories. I had stories I felt needed to be told, and I had a aesthetic and a sensibility I wanted to share with the world. In the process of the journey, I've discovered there's a lot of people that have stories to tell, and some of them more interesting than mine, some of them with a sharper aesthetic than mine. And as I've grown in this process and the company's grown, we've begun to acknowledge that other people's stories are sometimes more interesting than my own. So I've kind of become now a facilitator for the thousands of passionate people that are around the continent that want to tell their stories.
A lot of what you're speaking about, essentially, it almost sounds like something that the Gospels kind of contain, which is giving those who don't have a voice, reaching out to the people on the outskirts, trying to change hearts with media. And obviously you are a man of faith yourself. Tell me a bit about that. Like, how did your journey with Christianity and God begin?
Yeah, well, it started. I mean, I grew up in the church, in the Catholic Church, but not really understanding the gospel in any significant way that impacted me, and kind of left it. I went to art school. Kind of it fell away. It was kind of a dead thing, and it was only when I had a girlfriend who was coming back to her faith and started challenging me on these fundamental things, and that I started to build, find an intellectual framework that Christianity fitted in and began to make more sense than everything else. As an intellectual framework to understanding the nature of the universe, I can't find a better thing, except for, which is also plausible, it's a complete random accident, but it's completely unsatisfactory. And the more you meditate on that, the more depressed you get. Whereas the more you meditate on, well, maybe we're here for love, the more excited you get, and the deeper joy you begin to feel. There's a lot of judgmentalism associated with Christianity, and certainly a huge lack of grace that people have a big misconception of that aspect of it.
Yo, that gets me excited. Just hearing you talk about it, like we're here for love. That's also, I haven't heard it being put like that before.
It's as simple as that. If you'd never met pick up the Bible, but you said, what's the highest emotion? What's the most optimistic worldview I can have? We know that atheism is really the most skeptical worldview you can have. But imagine the most optimistic, because come on, we all want to be optimistic.
Yeah.
And then you paint that picture, and then you start to see, and when you start having kids and begin that love for a child, that oneness that you feel, like if that isn't at the center of the universe, I mean, it's just a beautiful thing, and that's how God sees us. And when that's at the center of everything, everything makes sense.